Okay, hi there, my name is Angela Kleps, and today I'm going to be talking to you about raising bull calves on a K2 milk bar system. Today we're going to talk about my ramifications. I have 3 of them. We're going to talk about my potential market. We're going to talk about what it is, how it works, and how does it solve my problem. We're also going to talk about the budget, and we're going to have a question and answer session at the end. My first ramification is dairy farms don't need bull calves. Whether the mom cow has a female or a male calf, the mother still produces the same amount of milk, which makes the farmer money. The only reason that they keep female calves is to replace their herd. So they have a continuous cycle of older ones passing away and younger ones filling their place. When they don't want the bull calves, they call someone that owns something called a concession sales. These concession sale people go around the entire state with a tractor-trailer truck, and they pick up the calves from dairy farms, usually bull calves or Fremont heifers, that they don't want. And then they bring them to a giant barn, and because these people are the middleman between the farmer and the veal companies, they have very little room to make money, so they only feed them electrolytes, which is a good nutrient supplement, but for the amount of time they're keeping them can get a little risky. And after they've kept them for between 7 to 10 days, they're shipped down south to a veal company. And the closest one we have is Pennsylvania, which is where most of the ones from up here go. Our second one is beef farms like La Platte Riverina's farm, which is a local all-natural beef farm that has done extremely well in this economy, has a very high demand for beef. They are slaughtering, I believe, he told me 12 a week, and to keep those numbers, he would need over 20,000 acres, he would need over 600 brood cows, and that's just completely impractical to think of. So instead of kind of going out of the box, he buys yearlings from an auction. There are there's 2 auctions every year, and they happen at the Champlain Valley Fairgrounds. These auctions auction off calves, yearlings, they do cows, bulls, oxen, you name it, it's there. And that's where farms like La Platte get most of their yearlings. Now, it's a really, really expensive alternative, but for up here, it's the only alternative that they have. These calves from the auction are coming from all over the country. I've seen them come from Canada, Maine, Terre Haute, Indiana. I've seen them come from Colorado. You don't know how they were treated. You don't know if they had broken a leg when they were pulled. You don't know if they had gotten pneumonia. You don't really know. And when you buy a yearling, or any cow for speaking, from an auction, they corral them into an arena about a dozen at a time, and you buy the herd. You don't buy each individual cow. So it's hard to judge what could have been wrong with them, if they're going to die, if they're going to break a leg. So it's a really, really risky choice to take by buying these animals from auction. And it can be really detrimental to a small farm if you get a herd that gets pneumonia and passes away. The market for these weaned calves, Joe and I have decided that we have 3 potential markets. Our largest one would be beef farms that can't do the 600 brood cows, 13,000 acres kind of thing. And they don't like the auctions because of the risks from ramification number 3. And they choose to buy yearlings from us, or wean calves from us. And our second market would be if all of our farms that would be buying our yearlings have enough herd for the year, we can sell them to the auctions that happen in the Champlain Valley, and then we can sell those animals also to other auctions around New England or even Pennsylvania or a little bit southern than that. And a market that Joe and I didn't really consider to be a really large market would be local people buying a nice house and having 20 or 30 acres and not knowing what to do with it. So, they're like, oh, we'll get a pig, a goat, and sooner or later they have 2 or 3 cows that they're going to put in the freezer. We've already had about 20% of the animals that we've raised this year have gone to local families that just want to raise an animal to put in the freezer. What is it? A K2 milk bar system is a hands-free, less invasive, and more efficient way to raise calves. They are given a warm milk replacer every day, all day. This unlimited access mimics the way that they would feed on their mothers. This same comfort assures growth and healthy calves. How does it work? The K2 milk bar system is a long stainless steel pipe that descends between free stalls, which are basically a slab of concrete that has sand on it, and it has its individual stalls. And this pipe goes in between them, and there's a nipple for each stall, and that leads to a milk tank which pumps warm, sterile milk replacer into this pipe into each pen. They're allowed unlimited milk. They can have whatever they'd like, whenever they would like it. The nipple has a one-way valve. This is really cool. The nipple has a one-way valve, so when they've drank over a certain amount, it can shut it off so they don't gorge themselves and colic. And then it can also measure how much milk they've drank in that day. If they haven't drank a lot, you can go check on them and see what's going on. It's a really cool system to be able to keep track of how much your animals are consuming. How does it solve the problem? This system guarantees healthy calves in a less invasive and more natural way. We can keep up with the amount of calves needed for the demand. This solves the problem of buying calves from out of state and auctions, and keeps the calves from becoming veal. The calves stay in Vermont, keeping our farming ecosystem alive and closer than ever. It will keep a consistent market and ensure the farmers supplying the calves the wages they deserve for these animals. Budget. Our largest expense would be the barn installation, which would be the steel pipe going in between the free stalls, and it's kind of having everything reversed because it is old milking parlor, so instead of pumping things into the bulk tank, we'll be pumping things out. So it's a little bit of a pricey transition, but you'll never have to pay for that again. And then our second one would be milk replacer, and you get milk replacer by the pallet, and a pallet just means 40 bags of anything. So it would be 40 bags of milk replacer, and each pallet of milk replacer usually costs around $4,000. And if we are feeding 100 calves at once, we would probably go through a pallet and a half a month, which is a lot of money. Our second one would be the calves, of course. I didn't decide to put this as our second highest expense, only because I have seen calves, bull calves, go from $5 a piece to $150 a piece. We could be paying $2,000 for 600 calves, or we could be paying, $600,000. We could be paying way more money. So it's a really toss and turn market, and sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. Right now it's about $80 a piece, which is pretty reasonable. And then next we had bedding. We would prefer wood shavings. They're cleaner, they're drier, they're a lot more comfortable for the calves. It's just a great environment to raise them in. Except one shipping of bedding costs around $3,000, and that's how much we would probably go through in 1 month. We're really paying for the trucking, and because of this expense, the bedding is very expensive, and trying to keep everyone clean and dry and healthy is one of our top priorities, so that's why we're ready to pay for top quality bedding. And then the next one would be calf grain. And because calves don't start eating this grain until they're about 3 weeks after they're born, they only eat about 6 pounds from when we have them till they're weaned. So it's not a very large expense, but it is, it's in there. And then our next one would be veterinary expenses, because Joe and I are both in a practice for a veterinary degree. We plan on doing the castration, dehorning, tubing, IVs, anything that they need all on our own. The only thing that we would need to pay for is if we need a vitamin B IV, which you're not legally allowed to carry on a farm, so we would have to call a vet to have them come and give the calf an IV. And then our last would be labor. Joe and I have decided that we would both like to be full-time employees, and because it's a very hands-free operation, we would only be really paying people to look after the calves, clean out the stalls, mix the huge thing of milk replacer. So we decided that we would hire 1 or 2 more people on for just having someone there. The question was, what is the possible benefit? And so there are 3 possible benefits to 3 different people. The possible benefit to Conant's Dairy Farm, which would be the farm that would be supplying us the majority of the calves, which would be close to 400 a year, would be that they can say where they went. They can say who has them. It's a really personable thing, and it doesn't sound like a lot. I mean, money does talk, and concession sales do pay good money for their calves. But we've already worked out a lot of really good relationships with these dairy farms, and they would much rather sell to us only because they're like, yeah, they have them. We know where they went. This is our cow, and they can point that out, and it's a really comforting and good feeling for them. And then the second possible benefit would be to La Plata Riverina's farm. This is a farm that would be buying the large amount of our weaned calves, and it's a much cheaper alternative to buying from auction, and it's way safer. Each one of our calves come with a 2-page medical list. It says when they were born, what's their tag number, if we had named them, what was their name, when they were castrated, when they were dehorned, any other medical things. And then we have a personality section, and that tells you just what they're like, just like cute little stories about what they did and how we had them. And it's just a list of what this animal is and how it's been treated, which is exactly what they need. And then our third possible benefit would be to Joe and I's company. Still running our full-time practices and serving all of our clients, we can talk to our dairy clients and say, yes, we'd love to buy your bull calves. And we can also talk to our beef clients and say, yes, we'd love to sell you these bull calves, and kind of just keep everything in a niche. And there's a really large thought that veterinarians make a lot of money when we really don't make a grand whole lot of money. And I personally like seeing people that can get dirty and do what they need to do. And Joe and I do go out and have our practice, but we do go on the farm and raise our animals and still participate in the agriculture that we love. And then we have questions and answers. I can answer any questions here and now.